I would like to know from you, because our society views monogamy and the idea of being dishonest in relationship with entirely two different yardsticks for men and women, right? So, as a woman, I would like to know, because when the way a woman feels, being her orientation, or rather, I don't know how, whether if it is appropriate to call it as orientation, like the way you feel, a natural sexual orientation, because it's usually said that by the age of 6 you feel, within you what your sexual orientation is. So, as a woman, I would like to know, is this also something similar, your relationship orientation?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And for me, it is an orientation. I wouldn't say that I understood it at the age of 6, because if you think about sexual orientation, for example, and people saying, yeah, I knew when I was a kid, when I would see, boys on the screen versus girls on the screen, that I felt an attraction towards them, right?
Yeah.
Normally, in my own experience, it wasn't until I reached my teenage years when I started having boyfriends. Yeah. When I started having boyfriends where I thought, yeah, I really like my boyfriend, but I also want to be with other people too. With other people as well. So I have struggled with monogamy in every relationship I have ever had since I started having relationships. For me, it is an orientation. It is something I am wired for. I am not wired for conventional monogamy. I identify as polyamorous. For some people, though, non-monogamy is a choice rather than an orientation. So why would people choose to practice this? I'll give you a few examples. Say you're in a long-distance relationship, right? And ultimately, we as humans, we crave touch. We crave affection. So some people might say, hey, while we're long distance, let's have a little openness there. This could also happen if there's mismatched libidos, mismatched kinks, where, okay, for practical reasons, we're going to allow a little bit of openness to meet those unmet needs. This can also be, hey, you're a couple, you've been together a really long time, the kids are grown, they've gone off to college. Let's add a bit of variety and spice into our relationship. Let's start going to some play parties. Let's start swapping. So it's different for every person. And so whenever I work with clients who are like, hey, I think I want to open up my relationship, I don't think I want monogamy, I start by asking, well, what is it about non-monogamy that appeals to you? And from there, we can determine, okay, is it that you are oriented for that, or is it that you're using that to meet an unmet need that you have?
Okay. So what is it that, how did you feel when you first felt within you that you are not somebody who is wired for the conventional monogamous relationship, which the society tells you to be? That is what is the right relationship model. How did it feel within you? What was your feeling?
Well, my feeling was I'm broken and I need to find a therapist to fix me. Right?
Even as a teenager.
Well, as a teenager, it wasn't, the realization came to me, I would say, in my mid-20s. That was the first time I worked with a therapist and actually said to this person, hey, I don't think I'm wired for monogamy. And this therapist said to me, like, that's okay, so what? And I said, no. What do you mean, so what? I need you to fix me. And he was trying to, argue with me and say, like, there's actually nothing wrong with you. But that's not what I wanted to hear at the time, because especially as women, we are taught that we're supposed to want the big wedding and the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids, all of these things. And I just wanted to be normal. And I really saw this as the same way that, I've heard anecdotally that gay men will go to a conversion therapy, right? Like, I just want to love my wife. I want to be attracted to her. I want to be happy with this conventional life. That was what I was going through. fix me, make me happy, just help me feel grateful for this life that I have built, the kind of life that I'm told I'm supposed to want. But I kept, staying on this hamster wheel and continually being dissatisfied in all of my relationships until finally in my late 30s, I worked with a different therapist who very slowly helped me realize, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing to be fixed. I'm just different. But it's always been there. It's always been there for me.
So, how much of this internalized shame, or rather feeling that you are broken, was actually due to the pressure which you felt from the society and people around you? Has that any role played in this?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for example, I think you know this. I used to be an attorney, and I went to law school and had a group of 9 very close women I developed a very close bond with. To this day, I am still the only woman who doesn't have children, who doesn't own a home, and now I'm not married. I was married at the time. But yeah, there is this pressure there. Even if people aren't saying it to you directly, you look around and you think, okay, this is the American dream, right? As a woman. And it was never my dream. So was some of it societal pressure? Yes. But I think part of it was my own internal shame of, well, maybe it's not that I'm not wired for monogamy. Maybe it's that I wouldn't want to be a member of any club that would have someone like me as a member. Maybe it's that once somebody truly loves me, I then wonder, well, what's wrong with them? Because I saw myself as very flawed. So I really thought that this might be something that could be solved within cognitive behavioral therapy. I truly did. And then it took me many years to figure out, no, this isn't something to be solved. This is just who I am. And now I really celebrate that. I look around and I see how many people are feeling frustrated and dissatisfied with what was sold to them as the American dream. And I'm sure, you're not in America, but there is this idea, right? This dream, regardless of culture, that we're supposed to aspire to. And how many people feel betrayed by that because it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So now I feel great in my freedom. I feel great in who I am in my life decisions, but it was one hell of a long road to get here.
But living on the other side of the planet, from here, living in India, when you look at America, you think America is a society where you can live a life you want without any judgment. Yeah. That's not the case then.
Well, I live in Los Angeles, which is in California, which is a very progressive state. And what's interesting is, yes, like as far as gay rights, a lot of things aren't really questioned here. But, and I'll try not to go on too much of a tangent here, the idea of non-monogamy, in my experience, can be very threatening to people, in a way that the idea of homosexuality, of even being transgender, is not necessarily threatening.
Really? Like as a transgender? Yeah. That is a...
Like, not to say that trans rights are widely accepted here in the US. We have a lot of parts of this country where people are really fighting for recognition, where we're taking many steps backwards.
Yeah.
But, I will, if I meet somebody new and, it comes up that I'm polyamorous, people's initial reaction is sometimes, well, I could never do that. I don't think they would ever say that to a gay person. I don't think they would ever say that to a trans person. Because if you think about it, people who are fighting for gay rights, who are fighting to be recognized for, the gender that they weren't assigned at birth, they just want to be recognized for the thing that most cisgender straight people are already doing. Hey, we just want to be like you. Whereas me, I'm saying I don't want to be like you.
Yeah.
And that can feel very threatening to people, and people will make it about them because they don't want to think, hey, oh my gosh, is my husband or partner or girlfriend also thinking about being with other people? Because it undermines their sense of safety. I could talk about that particular topic for a long time, but there is definitely mononormative, monogamous normative culture here in the United States.
Yeah.
We have, in terms of if you look at our tax laws, things like that. But that is, yes, we are a very accepting country, but a lot of people still have not been able to wrap their heads around non-monogamy.
Or non-monogamy. Correct.